Welcome to the Maritime Executives podcast series, In the Know. I'm Tony Munoz, Editor-in-Chief. Our Executive Corner podcast will provide conversations with top executives concerning events and issues that are shaping our industry today. We will also bring you up to speed with the latest news and editorials covered by the Maritime Executive.
Well, welcome to the Maritime Executive Magazine podcast series, In the Know. I'm here with Morgan Fanberg, the CEO of Glosten, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the latest in the naval architecture industry and what he's seeing in the market today. Morgan, thanks so much for joining us. And why not just to start with, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your career in maritime?
Sure, Paul. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to talk about the industry and be interviewed, to tell you the truth. About myself, I mean, that I could go on and on, I suppose. No one really likes to talk about themselves too much, but I think for your listeners, what's important for people to know about me is even though I'm CEO of a naval architect company, I'm still an engineer at heart. That's where a lot of my desires and my background comes from, that is just an undying love of ships and boats. So that's my history started at an early age sailing sailboats on the inland lakes of Minnesota, and just been really fortunate to continue my career in this industry, to tell you the truth. I mean, it's a huge blessing. Not a lot of people get to follow their passion into a career that actually generates some financial stability, and that's been really a benefit for me. And to be able to find a place at Glosten where, as you may know, I've spent my entire career. I'm just super fortunate that I found this company and found a home here. And I do joke with people about how great it is to work here, but my joke is always, I don't know what it's like to work anywhere else, so you just have to trust me when I say that.
Well, I think we could certainly take your word for it. So you're a USMMA grad. So how did that experience shape your career, and how does that community of alumni continue to help you today?
Sure. So Kings Point is a fantastic school. I don't think you're going to find a graduate that regrets going there. They may have regretted the time they were at Kings Point because of the high stress level. It's a very stressful experience. But I do think that all the graduates that come out of Kings Point, that experience of going through the stress of that curriculum, it's a 3-year program. I mean, it's a 4-year degree, but it's done in 3 years because we have a whole year at sea. So they pack a lot of material into a very short time frame. So the stress of that school, I do think, set me up for a lot of success and the confidence that, regardless of the challenge, that you could probably figure it out. And that going to sea and actually working hand in hand with mariners really helps you gain that confidence. You really are an empty shell when you go out to sea your first time. And the mariners out there are so willing to bring on cadets and help shape them and help give them the experience. I think the sea year at Kings Point is probably one of the best things for anybody that's following this career path to get to experience. So yes, the stress level, the ability to manage your time effectively, and then the confidence that you can solve a lot of engineering problems in the kind of a teamwork environment. Obviously, everything on a ship, you're down to a very small crew size, and so being able to support the crew, even at a completely inexperienced level as a cadet, really helps formulate. And I do attribute a lot of my success to Kings Point, for sure.
Sure, and that's great to hear. That's a huge endorsement. That's awesome. So you joined Glosten right after that. Can you tell us a little bit about Glosten's history and its path to success?
Yeah, sure. I started in 1998, Kings Point, but Glosten was formed in 1958 by Larry Glosten and his wife Pete. Larry had left another naval architect company called Philip and Spaulding, and he wanted to start his own firm. And I like to think, I got to very brief overlap with Larry before he fully retired. But I like to think Larry's vision for what Glosten could be, I hope we're still following that same path. And that all, honestly, Paul, started with an undying dedication for client service. Larry was very passionate that when a client trusted him with their problem, that it became his problem, and that he would do everything he could possibly do to help them solve whatever that challenge was. And I think that attitude and that client service level allowed Larry and the formation of the firm to take on more unique, challenging problems And that's still part of our blood here at Glosten, is to seek out the more challenging, unique industry problems, and help clients with that, where there's no necessarily we're starting with a blank sheet of page a lot of times for our projects. That's not to say that we don't help clients with all of their problems. It just, I think it shows the level of skill set and our ability to help them solve the next level challenging problems. And I think that's still what we value most today, is the client service and our ability to solve the more challenging problems.
Great. Is there anything else that sets Glosten apart? I mean, that's a lot, but is there anything you'd like to add to the list?
Yeah, when it comes to where we are in the industry, there are a lot of great naval architects, domestic and actually international. But I think if there's one area that sets us apart right now is our size. We are one of the larger naval architect companies. We have a staff about 115 right now. So that allows us to actually support a lot of wide variety of projects. And so we kind of divvy the whole industry up into different sectors. And I like to think that our capabilities are wide ranging, that the diversity of our sectors is pretty broad. That's from commercial shipping, aerospace, marine civil, marine construction. We have a great ocean engineering and analysis group that most naval architect companies don't have. And our research vessel sector, that's also a thriving area that sets us apart from some of our competitors. So it's the ability to take on a lot of different challenging projects, and our diversity of those sectors. I think that sets us apart.
Great. Thanks. Well, so can you walk us through some of your most important past projects and maybe some of your biggest ongoing projects?
Sure. It's a great question. It's like trying to pick your favorite child. And so tapping into the database of over, I don't know, 20,000 different projects. It's hard to narrow that down. So I'm just going to talk about the ones that are really near and dear to my heart, that I did think, set us on this path of being able to take on even more challenging projects. And the first one, it would be SBX-1. I don't know if you know about this project, but it's essentially a gigantic X-band radar on a semi-sub. And what was great about this project was, at the time, in the early 2000s, we were a firm of maybe 65 people, so maybe about half our size. And Boeing came to our office with missile defense and basically asked us, how can we put this, land-based radar out to sea? Considering the sensitivity to motions and accelerations, it was a challenge. And they wanted to do it quickly. That was the part of this that I don't think a lot of people understand, that SBX originally was just a test. Let's see if we can do this. And so we turned to, and this is small Glosten dealing with Boeing, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and the Missile Defense Agency, and we were able to accomplish just an amazing design effort to basically bring SBX from a bare deck semi-sub to what it is today. So I do think that was one of the most challenging projects in our history, that really gave us the confidence that there's nothing that we cannot solve. Large scale, small scale. That was a fantastic project for us. Another one that I like to highlight in our history is the Olmsted Dam project. In 2003, 2004, there was a project to replace this dam on the Ohio River. And they wanted to do it unique. They wanted to do it in situ. So they wanted to be able to replace the dam and not divert traffic or have to close down the river. So that process was unique in itself. So we came up with this gigantic, what we call this cat barge. It's two barges, two 200 feet long barges with this big catenary structure above it to tie them together. And that was able to carry close to 5,000 ton sections of the dam and locate them with real tight precision in location. And so not only was that an amazing engineering feat, the rest of the project required different an excavator barge and a ringer barge, and those were all Glosten designs. So I love that project because we'll see these pictures of the entire construction site, and I can point to all the different design aspects that Glosten got to take on. And so that just really spoke to our ability to gain the trust of a client to take on not just one small part of a gigantic project, but to really capture all of the elements. So those are the two projects I like to think about from our history. You asked about current projects too. And right now, I think current projects, we are doing more international work than we have ever done in our history, which is fantastic. And it's kind of hard for a U.S. naval architect firm to expand internationally, considering labor rates and the stiff competition. But we've been pretty successful from our research vessel experience to tap into more international clients. And so right now we actually have two projects going on. One is for the Australian Institute of Marine Science, AIMS. We're designing a research vessel for them. And our other one is the other research vessel is already designed for Saudi Arabian Institute, KAUST. That's going to, they're actually going to be cutting steel for the construction of that vessel in a couple months. So those are two exciting projects for us that speak to our international growth. And then we just did this press release for the floating nuclear power plant barge, and that we're doing that with Core Power. So this is really exciting for me because I've been a proponent for nuclear energy, adopting that into the marine industry for a long time. And to see this starting to take form and to see a lot of inertia and momentum behind bringing nuclear power to the marine industry, it's really just amazing to see the capabilities and where we're headed and just to see the energy behind that. So I'm very excited for that project as well.
That's really cool. I'm sure our readers would love to hear a little bit more about that. Can you tell us any of the details of, how much power it's going to put out, what kind of reactor it's going to be? Is there anything more you'd like to share?
Well, a lot of it is still subject to confidentiality, unfortunately, Paul. But we just did a short little press release that came out that gives a little bit of the specific details to that. But if you know Core Power, they are probably one of the leading firms pushing nuclear energy into the industry. So to be able to put a nuclear powered reactor on a barge and be able to be that mobile to bring clean power to all parts of the world is phenomenal. And I think it's one of the greatest parts about nuclear energy is being able to put a small reactor on a barge and be able to transport it mobily is revolutionary, really. And that starts with new technology in the reactor side of things, which obviously Glosten's not involved in, but new reactor technology is really where this all starts and is the ability to bring it to our industry as well. So.
Very cool. Well, we look forward to hearing more about that in the future as more of that comes along. That'll be really interesting to hear about.
Sure.
So you mentioned that there's a lot of competition internationally. What are some of the biggest challenges facing naval architects and marine engineers in the U.S. right now?
Well, when it comes to international pressure, for sure, the talent internationally, it's strong. There's no question that we face stiff competition internationally, amazing naval architects and marine engineers around the world. So just competing on billable rates and how do we maintain efficient design is a challenge. That's one thing that we are working very hard at being more efficient with our design and using technology to help us with that. So the adoption of large data and using AI to help us do design work quicker, more efficiently, and still as accurate and as precise and as much detail and engineering excellence as before. But that's pushing us in a new realm of how can we be more efficient. So we're constantly asking that question of, okay, this is how we've historically done design work. This is how long it's usually taken. How can we do it better? The technology has advanced so fast when it comes to engineering over my almost 30 years in the industry. If we don't start adopting these technologies that other industries are using to do engineering quicker, we're going to be left behind. So that's one area that we are maintaining our competitive advantage. Client service is always, I keep harping on client service, but I think regardless of where you are in the world, again, just like Larry was pushing, when a client asks you to help them with a problem, that is a trust that is unlike any other, that you really need to accept that problem as your own. And so not saying that internationally they're not paying attention to client service, but I do think that our historic client service, the repeat business that we get from clients, is another way we are staying successful, is that we never diminish a client's problem is never too small for us to help them out. And I absolutely enjoy finding out more about clients' business, being curious, even if it's not about the specific engineering problem you're trying to solve, but getting more engrossed into their overall business, because you never know how that's going to tweak an engineering design. And I just find it fascinating. All these different businesses are uniquely different, and to see how they run their business and what their challenges are, it's fascinating for us.
Yeah, and I'm sure lots and lots of fun and probably very intellectually stimulating as well to
Yeah.
get to find out about these businesses and how they operate in different places. I mean, every ship is different, right? Even sister ships, they're never precisely the same.
No, they are never. I don't know if I've ever actually seen a true sister ship, to tell you the truth, Paul.
Um, so, also we hear all the time about challenges facing the shipbuilding industry here in the US. You work both domestically and abroad, but I was
Mhm.
wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what it takes to get a new build project across the line here in the US market.
Sure. I think when it comes to new projects and getting a successful one through a shipyard, whether it's a retrofit or new construction, it really, for us, it comes down to that engineering excellence, never leaving a stone unturned. Being curious enough to go dig deeper, never taking vendor information or information that we get verbatim, digging a little bit further, confirming that that is actually true, because the last thing you want is for these problems to come up in a shipyard. And it still happens. Make no mistake about it. But it's all about trying to minimize those unknown issues that could come up on the deck plates of a shipyard period. That's just going to delay, add cost, and throw monkey wrenches into the whole process. So from our point of view, it's always maintaining that high level of curiosity, digging even deeper than we have before, just to make sure that we're not missing anything. And I'll tell you, just by having that mindset changes a lot. And it's amazing the things you will find just by taking a little bit extra time to dig a little bit deeper. And so for us, it's really about how can we de-risk the shipyard period? How can we de-risk the new construction or the modification and dig deeper in our engineering side of things? When we're doing the modeling, it's all looks wonderful and beautiful, but if you dig a little deeper, you will find problems that are, it's a lot cheaper to figure out by adding, a few more hours of engineering than it could take 2 weeks or heaven forbid, it requires new equipment that has long lead items that could completely throw a project uh, off the charts. So it really comes down to taking the time to do our engineering, to double check. We have a very rigorous quality program here too, which I do believe really helps put out very good engineering products. So
Great. So it goes far beyond your scope of work goes beyond design per se and making the best possible ship. It's also very much about making sure that the yard period proceeds very, very smoothly and that there's the steps that you need to do construction are
yeah.
sequenced in the right way.
Yeah, and one thing we like to do is support our clients all the way through those construction periods by having engineers either a telephone call away or even on site. That's even better to be there when a problem arises, is dealing with that immediately, because any small problem could cause, like I just said, a domino effect of delays. So being able to handle those immediately, but correctly and safely, but very timely.
Well, speaking of current operations for owners, how do you help owners get the most out of their existing tonnage? You're used to solving challenging problems and finding innovative solutions for people. How do you go about those conversations, and what can you do for an owner who has, say, a 20-year-old ship or 25-year-old ship that they'd like to get more out of?
Yeah, and that, my background obviously is in marine engineering, and so much of my earlier career has been keeping old boats running. Mostly because in this country, the cost of replacement is outrageous. So a lot of our efforts at Glosten have historically been, how do I get more life out of this vessel so that I can, save enough for new construction and go further? So obviously, when it comes to new keeping old boats running, it's about a regulatory check. Let's see what is coming down the line. What do we need to modify? And a lot of it is honestly, it's a trade-off. I have to meet this new requirement. I need to put new tier engines in. I need to repower. I need to follow this requirement. I don't have enough space. What am I willing to give up to do that to keep my old vessel running because I can't afford something new? So a lot of it starts with a trade-off study of, okay, well, here's the unfortunately the bad news of putting this engine is you're going to lose this much space here, or there's a stability problem because your vessel just can't handle the weight. So we're going to have to do some modifications. It doesn't mean it's the end of life necessarily for the vessel, but it could change the economics for our clients when it comes to what trade-off, what are they going to have to give up to continue this vessel going? And that's when it comes down to, well, you're going to lose this much revenue in your bottom line. Maybe you really do need to look at a new vessel. Or even perhaps even looking at vessels that are for sale. There could be some other opportunities for vessels that a current client doesn't have any use for, but we could transfer that and change it and meet their requirements too. So a bit of our work is actually sometimes an economic analysis of what the impacts to keeping these older boats running and the trade-offs of incorporating a retrofit.
Well, that's great. I mean, there's some really, really great older ships out there, so it's fantastic that you guys are available to help keep them going.
Yeah.
Well, so there's a lot of conversation now about what government can do to really help
Yeah.
shipbuilding and ship owners, and particularly in the U.S. Can you tell us a little bit about your thoughts about what kind of programs or support might be best?
Right. So this is another topic that's near and dear to my heart. I was fortunate enough to speak in front of Congress a few years ago when the Congress was looking for ways to support decarbonization throughout the marine industry, and so part of that discussion was my hope would be more funding for MARAD to take the lead when it comes to this push to decarbonize. So when you're thinking more globally about how government can help the whole shipbuilding industry, I still strongly believe that the partnership between private industry and government is well needed for this. Mostly because we all can agree that having a very robust shipbuilding industry is very important to the longevity and health of this country. So I do think that more grants are on order to support whether it's keeping old boats running or retrofits to new construction or even helping shipyards develop the capability for new construction. The issue, though, sometimes with grants is it can be caught up into bureaucratic red tape. A lot of grants require a municipality or a port authority to divvy out those grants. So I'm actually very interested in the Ships Act, that Senator Kelly is co-sponsoring. I don't exactly know where they end details of that, but seeing that there's some tax incentives as motivation for clients to do new construction, that's super encouraging. So I'm actually really hopeful that the new administration working with Congress can come up with new unique ways to promote new construction and helping shipyards take on the capability challenges of the future industry and to really strengthen our entire industry. So I'm super hopeful. I do think that there's enough motivation in the U.S. government to support the marine industry. And I know our clients are absolutely looking at support from the government and for supporting, incentives for new vessels and incentives for the shipyards to increase their technological capabilities. Not even that is one of the issues. Another big issue is workforce capabilities. We are going to see a lot of shipbuilding workforce issues coming, and so this is a whole nother topic that we could discuss forever about encouraging young students and young graduates, if they're not interested in going to college, that the shipbuilding industry is a fantastic place for a wonderful profession, one that will reward them financially and just be professionally rewarding. So I'm enthusiastic to see more maritime high schools pop up throughout the country that are encouraging more students to look to our industry for their future profession.
Yeah, well, fantastic. I mean, and I think all of us really hope to see some revitalization. It'd be wonderful to see the industry really take off. And so, yeah, looking forward, can you tell us a bit about your vision for Glosten's future and for the industries as well?
Yeah, my vision for Glosten. It's interesting you asked that question because I like to tell people that I inherited this position from my predecessors, right? So I am the sixth president of Glosten, and my vision and my hope for Glosten is to leave this company in a better place than I found it. That is my number one goal. And to do that requires a bit of growth and creating more opportunities for my staff. I truly believe that to create more opportunities, we need to grow this business, and that's part of our initiative to grow internationally, is to find more opportunities to bring what I think is our unique capability of solving those unique challenges more broadly to the industry, all while continuing to serve our clients as well as we have in the past. So my long-term vision is really to get Glosten set up for future success. The challenge to that really is the rapid change of technology. I think this is an area that a lot of naval architect companies in this industry are struggling with a little bit, is that rapid change, where historically the marine industry has been very slow to adopt technologies from different locations. I mean, if you think about it, scanning technology is one of those areas that a lot of people were uncertain of investing money into these laser scanners. But now today, you don't go out on a ship without bringing your laser scanner. It used to be tape measures and digital cameras. Now it's laser scanning. So keeping up with technology, the advancements that can help our engineering, AI, large data, those are two things that we got to address and be on top of. And then the changes to technology in the industry when it comes to alternative fuels and regulations when we're trying to clean up the environment. Those are significant challenges. What I do think is all positive. I don't want to be negative at all. It's a super exciting time to be in the industry, and it's a cool adventure, really. So I do hope that people see it the same way I do and are super positive and excited about the challenges that are coming, and don't see it as a negative at all.
Great. Well, thanks. And maybe last question.
Yeah.
We've talked about the opportunities for younger folks. Any thoughts or advice for people who are thinking of entering the industry?
Well, again, it comes one level, getting more influence out there, letting people know about the challenges of this industry, I think is where we should be starting with. And I mentioned maritime high schools. There's a few of those now in the Pacific Northwest. I would like to see more maritime high schools develop. One on a path to just doing marine engineering and naval architecture, but also, as I mentioned, the shipyard workforce, getting people into shipbuilding, and then just even mariners, getting more young people to be interested in a life at sea, whether it's ocean going vessels or tugboats. I do think that that's another area of the industry that's going to be struggling to find people who are interested in it. So it's really about advertising how great the industry is. Finding people who are super energetic about how cool this industry could be. I can't tell you how many times I have found myself on the deck plates of some vessel in the middle of who knows where, just sitting there, just taking a deep breath going, this is amazing. I never expected to ever be in this situation in my life. And I do think this industry is, like I said before, full of adventure. It just requires a lot of advertising to show people how cool the marine industry could be and how fulfilling professionally it could be, whether it's going into engineering, going into operational side of things, or working in shipyards. It's a fantastic career, and it's full of opportunities. We just need to get out there and tell people more about it.
Great. Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate your time, and we look forward to hearing more as things evolve for you.
Absolutely, Paul. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.